where you're hiding, I just want you to come in.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Franklin Presents Frankie's Fun with Frank and Friends, a fundraiser for the Southeast PRT team. I'm Dawn, and today, filling in for Frank, we have Jenny. And the reason we have Jenny is because Frank and I tried to video this tutorial earlier today, and well, frankly, it wasn't happening. Frank's mind was elsewhere. We weren't making progress with our training session / video. So I decided to exercise what sometimes is the best thing you can do in training, and that's to know when to stop. And it's okay. Training sessions aren't always going to go as planned. You know, dogs are not robots. Sometimes they don't feel well. Sometimes they may be mentally distracted. With intact bitches, intact dogs, you can have hormonal influences that, you know, their priorities have shifted to the opposite sex as opposed to, you know, what you're trying to teach them. And a lot of times we are not in the game. When things fall apart, it's not our dog's fault, it's our fault. Maybe we're distracted, maybe we had a bad day, maybe we don't feel physically 100%. And so, and a lot of times this is very common, we don't have a plan. We don't know what we're gonna do. We just kind of wallow through it, and the way we think the dog should understand what we're asking them to do, the dog does not understand what we're asking them to do. Things just start falling apart, frustration builds. It's not a good scene. And you know, when things are happening like that, that's the time to say, okay, you know what, this is time to end this training session. Now, you can see Jinx is a little stressed, and that's probably because I've had a frustrating time trying to get Frank to cooperate for this video, and it didn't happen, and I'm not sure why it didn't happen. So I'm a little frustrated, but that's okay. Little bit, we can still work through that. But if you're really having a rough day, that's not the time to pick up the leash and the dog treats and the dog and expect to go train. You know, for what we're doing in particular, it's just tricks, nothing important. But you know, there's really no sport that is so important that we have to train, even when one or both of us, you know, both ends of the lead aren't feeling up to training. So if you need to set it down, set it down. I try to end my sessions, even if they're falling apart, like with Frankie. The trick we're gonna work on today wasn't happening with him. So I asked him to do something he knows very well, which is a sit. I had him do a sit. He also knows down very well, had him do down, and then we ended the session. So we ended the session with me still in control of the situation. I asked him to do something. I'm not teaching him that acting like a goofball is the way to get out of training. No, but I did shift it to make it easier for him, easier for me. We ended on a positive note, and then we just called it a day. Okay, now maybe I'll try him later today. I'll work with him a little bit, see if we're in a better headspace. If one of us or both of us is not in a better headspace, I'll come back to him maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow. It's okay. But forcing yourself through a session that is just falling apart can do more harm than good in the long run. You can ruin the dog's trust in you, ruin their attitude toward training, and just make it an unpleasant situation for you as well, and you're not teaching them a darn thing. So that is why we have Jenny today. And it's funny because Frank's session blew apart on what is a very, very simple trick for 99.99% of the dogs out there, and that is the single cup find it. So for novice, our dogs, for the find it trick, need to find a cookie hidden under a cup or a bowl, you know, something that they can knock over. Now for the little guys, I use these shot cup sized plastic cups. My bigger dogs, I use the bigger version of them. They're lightweight, but they're sturdy. And all the dog has to do, find it. Is move that around, find their cookie. Now she's up on the training table for training purposes. or for video purposes. For training this trick, when I taught her this initially, I just sat on the floor with her. The biggest thing is, you know, cups, they can slide around. So if you have a rug or a room with carpet on it, they work a little bit better because they do hold the cup so the dog can actually knock the cup over a little bit easier. But I'm gonna work Ginny up here so we can see her in the video. Again, this is a very, very simple trick, and what Ginny just did, that would be a passing performance of this trick. So to start it, you want some good treats that the dog wants, and remember, like we talked about before, in our first tutorial and in others, it only needs to be a taste, does not need to be a whole meal. So these little tiny treats, I'm gonna break them in half, and you know, you'd never guess that she likes these, right? So again, we have our dog on a buckle collar and a leash. If you prefer soft slip so the coat isn't damaged, that's fine as well, but you're not gonna use a slip. You're just gonna put your finger under it. This is just to restrain the dog. You want a little bit of time between when you put the treat down and when the dog goes to get it. So we're gonna let the dog see, find it, and we're gonna let him go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? If you don't want to add calories to your dog's daily intake training these tricks, remember you can take some kibble out of their meal to make up for the calories they get in treats, or you can, if they really like their kibble, you can use their kibble instead of treats to train this. Okay, so I'm gonna set it down. Find it. Good girl, right? This is all eyesight, I don't care. The point is the dog is learning when I say find it, which is going to be my word that I use, that there's gonna be something down there. I know, Jenny. You ready? Find it. Now I'm telling her find it because she is straining at that collar. There's no doubt in my mind when I let go, she's gonna go straight to that cookie. If your dog isn't doing that right off the bat, you've probably put the cookie too far away, okay? So you can see I'm just working on a small grooming table. So that's all the further I'm putting it away, maybe 6 inches. I'm not very good, just right out of paw reach. Find it, okay? But your dog should go, oh boy, there's the food. If they don't, try changing the food. If you're working on a dark surface and the dog seems to have no clue initially, try using something light, like a tiny bit of cheese, a tiny bit of skinless chicken, okay? It's not gonna add a lot of fat, not gonna add a lot of calories, but visually it'll be a light on a dark surface, be easier for them to see. Alternatively, if you're working on a light surface, use a darker treat if the dog is struggling. But most dogs, after maybe the first or second time, you don't need to worry about it. All right, so that is step one. And remember, we do sets 5 for our repetitions when we're training. When the dog can do it 4 out of 5 times the first time in the way we want it, then we're ready to move on. So Ginny is watching that cookie, she's straining at that cookie, and as soon as I let her go, she's blasting over and getting that cookie. So we're ready to move on. So the next step I do is I always let them check out whatever it is I'm gonna put the treat in. I don't want them to be afraid of it. They can sniff it, they can do whatever. I just wanna know that they're okay with that. Now Ginny does a shell game with multiples of these as a very advanced trick, and so she knows what these are all about. But you know, just let your dog check it out. And then I'm gonna hold on to their collar. Now if your dog can sit and wait, that's great. If you have somebody that can hold the leash quietly, just be a leash holder for you, that's great as well. You can also hook this on a doorknob if you need to. Hook the leash over the doorknob so your dog can't take off before you're ready. That's all we're doing, all right? We're also creating a little anticipation on the part of the dog, but basically we just don't want the dog to take off before we're ready. So I'm gonna show her, here's the treat, and I'm gonna cover it, and then I'm gonna tell her, find it. Good girl. There you go. And because we're working on a tight surface, she just started to knock it over the edge. When we're on the floor, she sends these things flying. But that's okay. What Ginny just did is more than adequate for this novice level trick. Get a couple more. I'm going to scoot her back to this end of the table. I got a hold of her collar, dropping the cookie. Get it. And I gave her the wrong cue there. Her cue for this is find it. I said get it, but that's okay. She did it. Again, these are tricks. So consistency, yes, we want to use one unique word for each trick if we put it on a verbal cue. But if you screw up every once in a while, that's life. Remember, we're not always perfect. Our minds can wander during our training sessions. Find it. Good girl. And now she's figured out that smacking it is going to keep it from going off the edge. She can get to the cookie faster. Okay, that's step 2. Again, 4 out of 5 times, 80%. She's going and getting that. I'm ready to move on to the last step. The last step is we're going to set up our dog facing away. Now, the AKC Novice trick list does not say your dog must be facing away for this trick to start this trick. They don't say that. They also don't say that the dog can't see you put the cookie under the cup. Okay, so technically that step we just did is good enough for the trick dog. But in the more advanced levels, we start to play with multiple cups and play the old shell game. Put the cookie under one, move them around, and let the dog go and find which one. So I like to throw in a little added bonus of turning our dog around, away, trying to hold them so they don't cheat. Find it. And then having them turn around. Good girl. Because ultimately, we're going to try this with more than one cup. So we'll set 3 cups down, put a cookie under one. Dog doesn't see it, the dog has to find it. All right, find it. Okay, and she already found it and ate it. So this looks a lot more impressive. When it's on the floor, we can spread them out. This is a great brain game. It's a great rainy day, snowy day, indoor day kind of activity to do. It's very low stress, has nothing really to do with scent work or tracking, earth dog trailing, but yet it does. It's teaching them using their nose is fun, using their nose is rewarding. If you want to go on in those other sports, then you are going to refine what it is they're searching for with their nose. But this just gives them a little jump start, and it's very impressive. And when you get good at it, you can show off to family and friends and get pretty fancy at it by how you move, how many of these you have on the floor, how you move them around, where you leave your dog before you release them. I also will take and put her in a different room and set these up and then release her from the other room. So not only does she have to figure out which cup, she's got to come and find it in the room. So there's a lot of ways you can take this game and make it a great brain activity. Sometimes just wearing out their brain will help with the physical activity that they all have an abundance of. So not only do we want to wear them out physically, we want to wear them out mentally. This is a great way to do that. So this is the novice find it trick on that trick list. Remember, you can find the tricks and more information about the AKC Trick Dog program at akc.org. The specific information is at the end of this video. And if you would like to help out the Southeast PRT team, we don't care if it's a PRT, so long as it's a dog. We will evaluate for $10. We'll evaluate your videos for the Trick Dog Novice title or another title if you're ready. We will evaluate those. 100% of the evaluation fee will go to the Southeast PRT team to help them support all the activities associated with the Perry, Georgia Peach Blossom Cluster PRT specialties each spring. So, I think Jenny did a lovely substitution for Frank today. So that is it for today. Next week, we'll take on another novice level trick. Hope to see you then. Thank you.